right. First of all, a very warm good morning or good afternoon to all of you, depending upon the time zone you are in. And I really want to take this opportunity to say thank you to all of you. Uh, I would like to start this panel discussion of the Food and Beverage Summit 2020 with a formal introduction of all our panelists this morning. Let me start with Bill. Uh, Bill Broadbent is the president at Entosense, where the mission is to make edible insects part of the daily diet of North Americans. Uh, Bill thinks that we need solutions to our sustainable agriculture and livestock production systems, and edible insects is one of the answers. And as per their company's mission, they believe edible insects are healthy. So that's an amazing niche business that Bill is in. Bill, welcome to the panel discussion this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Then we have Rick Graves. Rick is the CEO at Jessie and Laurent. He is also the partner at SGS Hospitality. And Rick has been an independent operational consultant with an emphasis on restaurant and sport industries. His passion for people and profits come through in his collaborative approach to change. Rick has previously worked in corporate and independent restaurants, and his clients have experienced extraordinary benefits from working with him to build a cohesive leadership team, and he has been instrumental in implementing systems to improve consistency and action-oriented approach. Welcome, Greg, to the panel discussion.
Thanks, I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Then we have Chris Kovac. Chris is the founder of Riverwatch Beef, which is in the business of premium grass-fed beef and to deliver it directly to the consumer. He's also a partner and mentor at BetaBox. Chris has studied cognitive psychology, and I must say, Chris has been instrumental. He has been mentioned in the 33 entrepreneurs, marketers, and thought leaders to watch in inc.com. He has also received National Small Business Influencer Award, and he has been a Community Choice honoree in the top 5 expert category. Welcome, Chris, to the panel discussion.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here with you.
Thank you. We have with us also Brian Augustine. Brian is the Chief Development Officer at Everbowl. Everbowl is a craft superfood where they specialize in creating superfood bowls focusing on 4 main base ingredients: acai, pitaya, grivola, and acerola, topped with unlimited toppings of your choice made from stuff that's been around forever. So pretty interesting concept by Brian. Brian, welcome to the panel discussion this morning.
Thank you, glad to be here.
Wonderful. So gentlemen, I really want to once again take this opportunity to say thank you for being here, and let's make the next 60 minutes worthwhile and an exciting conversation. So before we begin, I would like to ask and start with this one question. Like you guys, when you started this business as an entrepreneur, what was the purpose, or what was that why that came to your mind that you felt like you want to start this business and get into this business? So I may start with probably Brian, if you can, Brian.
Yeah, so I'm just full disclosure, I'm not the owner or founder. That's Jeff Fenster. So his vision, and I came aboard as kind of like the number 2 man a few months after he opened the first location in Poway. And the vision is, to create a healthier food option, to add to the overall food landscape in the communities that we go to, because, the market says it's either, sorry about that. Good food is either not accessible, it's not affordable, it doesn't taste good, and it won't fill you up. And so we wanted to kind of take those 4 key things and capitalize on that. And I feel like we've done that with our product.
I think you're on mute.
I think you're muted, Kuldeep.
Okay. Yep. Sorry about that. I would like to move to Bill. If you can share your purpose and your why for starting this business.
Well, it was actually kind of by accident. I had prior to this been in the internet industry since 1997, and we had T-Shirt King, and it grew into the millions. We sold to art.com, and at that point, we lived in New Mexico, and my family and my parents and everybody live in Maine. So when we sold the business, we moved to Maine, and when we got here, my son just asked an innocent question: why don't we eat bugs? And I gave him what he jokes is a dad answer. And he kept looking into it and kept coming back and saying, you know, did you know that they're super healthy? I mean, basically, they've been safety tested for 200,000 years.
Wow.
They've been part of our diet since, in a sense, the beginning of time. And it's only been the past 400 or 500 years that they haven't been. So we're trying to bring them back. Billions of people around the world do eat it. Anyway, that's the sort of thing that he kept talking about. So we set up a website just to see what would happen and just put some general information in. And people started saying, where can you get these? And back in 2015, not too long ago, there's almost nothing out there. So we started finding places to get them. We imported some different things, and now we import a lot. But it just grew from that. It was kind of a hobby to start with. And I really liked, you know, obviously I liked the idea of moving in this direction. I always felt as though in my lifetime I've had two great opportunities. One was the internet, which, you know, none of us could have understood prior to it coming along. And the second one is this. I mean, here's a whole food group that we ignore. So it's a great opportunity. I mean, it's got to be one of the hardest things to market because the first thing people say is, ooh, ick.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's a lot of fun to, you know, kind of overcome that.
Absolutely. There's a learning curve for adoption, but I think once people are used to it, I think that they'll get it. So that's amazing. That's a great story you got there. Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Let me ask Chris, what was your purpose?
Similar to Bill, I had my background's in internet companies, marketing, going all the way back to the mid 90s. And so we had a small family farm and we raised cattle. And during my vacation, I would help our family work the cattle. And my epiphany, or our epiphany, was folks that are working hard to produce, in this case, premium all natural beef, are all going out of business. They're losing their family farms. They don't have the opportunity to reach the end consumer. So we thought, what if we developed a vertically integrated startup where we could control the entire process from the pasture all the way to the fork? And again, that was about 3 years ago. And now we're shifting into a broader, maybe co-op model so that we can scale. In other words, it's important to us to help get the word out. You know, people say thought leadership, but there's a lot of different people doing great things like this panel. And we want to support local food producers, whether it's beef or bugs or vegetables or whatever it is. And, you know, this year we gained a lot of traction. And so now we're trying to figure out what's next and how to scale.
Wow, amazing. That's a great story you got there, Chris, I must say. And you mentioned that point about like your why is like very, very insightful. Glad to know that. Let's talk about it in a while. Rick, if I may ask, what was your why? About how did you start it?
I feel like my entire life has been about serving others. And I fell into the restaurant business at a very young age and really like the fact that food is super personal. We put it inside of our bodies, and therefore it can change our vibration. It can also kill us if we do it wrong, right? So it's a super cool way to connect with others. We happened upon, through my consulting work with a firm, we happened upon Jessie and Laurent, and they were hoping to retire, but they didn't want to leave their customers in the lurch, if you will, and shut it down. We loved the high quality food that they had established and the culture, and that they had created this profitable business where many others were failing in it. And so we have come in and taken the reins, and just, it has been a phenomenal experience. The team has stuck with us and has enjoyed some of the tweaks that we've made to the concept itself and how we've grown it. And we're excited to continue on that trajectory of massive growth. So.
Wow, that's amazing. So you are taking the founder's vision like forward. I think you are taking the business to the next level. That's
Yeah,
pretty amazing.
exactly. Yeah.
Because someone have started it, but kind of you are taking that steps in that direction to kind of scale the business to new heights.
Yeah,
Amazing.
we're hoping to add a little technology to it, right? So, that was one of the things that the founders had said was, we're just not wanting to keep up with the technology trends and things of that nature. And so we have a bunch of other companies in our segment that started on the technology side and are trying to do food. And this one started as a food business, and we're going to add some technology to hopefully improve the scalability of it and the profitability of it as well.
That's technology is an enabler. I think any business can significantly reach out to any number of target audience if they're able to deploy technology, adapt technology that can really help the consumers. Ultimately, technology is like a bridge between the business and the consumer. And if that bridge is frictionless, smooth, wow, any amount of consumers can be acquired. I still remember.
And beyond that too, we're looking at technology also for consistency standpoint as well, right? Because as a consumer, I think it's, high quality is great, but also consistency is key to keeping that customer around and the value side of it. So when we look at recipes, for example, if we can create those recipes in some sort of digital platform that makes sure that every cook is making that product the exact same way, that'll help us with the consistency side too. So.
Right, absolutely. That's a great point you raised there. Great. I would like to come to Brian. Brian, you are in this amazing business of creating these amazing bowls, and I think I would like to ask you this one question. You guys have already established a significant presence for your brand. What is that one challenge that you guys have faced when you were launching the business or starting the business, and how have you overcome it? And how was your business for the last 4 to 5 months?
So I think the biggest challenge that you guys are been in the restaurant industry or the food industry is people. And when we were starting out, that was the number one thing that our investors kind of challenged and questioned, and even friends and family, is how are you going to grow 20, 30, 40 stores in 3 or 4 years? Where are you going to get the people? And so kind of leaning on my background in leadership development with Trader Joe's and that type of fostering an environment where your employees love to work for your company. Because I truly believe that customers won't love your company until your employees do. And when we survey our leaders, I ask them, what do you like? Why do you like working at Everbowl? And they say, because my team's like my family. And so when you have that type of synergy and that type of dynamic interaction within your stores, that I really feel like, Rick's talking about the vibration, same thing there. When you have great employees, that goes out to your customers. That was really challenging. It still is. And especially this time of year, typically our stores, because school's either starting, getting out, our college kids are moving out to go to their 4-year. That's when we have turnover. And so it's it's prepping for that. And then the second part of your question was, how have we been doing the last 4 or 5 months? We're running at between 80 and 90% pre-COVID numbers. So we're really fortunate to continue to grow. We're slowly opening the stores that have been closed. San Francisco Union Square, Arizona State University. We just opened up San Diego State University a couple weeks ago, and we're starting to see those numbers climb back up. So positive trends all the way across the board.
That's amazing. Glad to hear that. I mean, yes, I think business is finally coming back to normal. I think because people have now adopted, and it's basically people are kind of finding ways to kind of keep themselves safe and do the business as usual. Yes, definitely.
And so I want to add one thing too, because you talk about resiliency in most of the population society. Kind of, it's been a struggle in businesses, but I just want to tip of our cap to our employees. We have close to 300, and they all
Mhm.
came back to work and just are
Oh,
doing so well. Very minimal complaints. And they're wearing masks and they're store through a door, and it's summer, it's hot, and they'd rather be at the beach, but they're doing it. And the majority of them are between 18 and 22 years old. So we're very,
wow.
very grateful and lucky to have such good kids.
Excellent, man. That's pretty amazing. I think that's the kind of dynamism that your leadership has, that it's able to kind of build that kind of, because your employees become your ambassadors. I mean, they carry the baton forward, and it's just a matter of time that from
Yeah.
300, maybe I just pray you become 3,000 big
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
So great, amazing insight. I think that's one point in kind of scaling up your. They are the foundation, I believe. The
You
people
have
who
to.
work for your
Yeah.
business, they are the foundation that drives things forward, and they carry the culture and everything. Because I think in food business, probably consumers are like consumers always have a choice to make. But typically, if you have been to a particular restaurant or you order something from a particular uh, company, it has that trust that they have earned is either through the people who have served them, or it's basically the conversations that they had. So people typically go to the same cafe or to the same restaurant over and over again because of the people that are there. So that's the foundation. That's the glue that brings people back. Excellent there. I would like to ask this question to Chris also. Like, how was the business for you for the last 4 to 5 months? Have you seen like any uptrend or a significant jump in your revenue or the number of customers that you have acquired?
Yes, we've hit monthly sales records each month since March, and we're up
Wow.
about 1,000%, and it's ebbing and flowing. Our growth would have been exceeding that significantly. There were a couple different factors. One, our supply chain couldn't keep up. We can
Mhm.
only process so many animals at a time, and we had limited inventory. So we've actually sold out of our inventory 3 times this year. And
Wow.
so it's a good problem to have, but a bad problem to have, and trying to get ahead of that into
Yeah.
letting the customers know what's going on, being transparent. Our customers have been great from an understanding standpoint. People kind of get the crazy environment that we're living in. So the biggest challenge that we've had outside of the supply chain before the pandemic was the customer acquisition and really cutting through the clutter. So in
Mhm.
the, I would say in the small batch beef business, there are probably a couple hundred different players.
Mhm.
So how do we compete against people with much bigger budgets than we are? A lot of those folks are now back with private equity and other investors.
Mhm.
So we had to start small in concentric circles.
Mhm.
So we're in the Kansas City area, which is the Midwest. And so really getting customers who are fierce advocates of us, and we built that. And then
Mhm.
how are we able to expand nationally? The other challenge that we had was UPS well, the shipping companies had some issues with deliverability, and that's still
Mhm.
kind of going on. In other words, we have a perishable product, and we couldn't get it to the customers on the coast within 3 days. So lost a lot of business there. Hopefully we'll retain some of that business once the shipping kind of returns to normal, whenever that is. And so right now we're trying to get ahead of the supply chain so that we can not run out of inventory, but continue to overservice our customers, because like everyone's saying here, we're a family business, and so all of our employees are family members, but
Yeah.
we want to give the highest service possible to our customers, the highest product, and that's number one, and then everything else will follow.
Wow. The challenge that you mentioned, that your inventory got over 3 times. Wow. That's that's like a challenge that I hope every business can have. And where, I mean, that's something that's unheard of. I mean, typically, the customers' expectations from a brand, I think, but this is the challenge. And how do you plan to deal with it? Like if you can, what are your plans to kind of, let's say you already faced this challenge, it may happen again. So what are your plans to tackle it maybe again?
Expanding pivoting our business model. So we were a single producer, so single family, and how are we going to expand expand our processing capabilities. We're talking to actually our neighbors who have the same problem as us, who on the farm, and they don't have anywhere to take their animals. So the next waypoint, if you will, would be investing in a processing facility, which opens up a whole nother can of issues because that's not something that I'm well versed in, and then bringing other like-minded producers into the fold. So there was a family processing facility in Kentucky. They're doing very similar things that we are. And even though we may be, you know, in competition with each other, we're really an alliance. And how can we all support each other? Our industry, the beef industry, is significantly broken with big four players, a lot of international folks. So it is, how can we get more people to join our team, our vision, and how can we all educate the marketplace on there's a better way, because most of the beef that you would buy at the grocery store is not sustainable. It's jammed with a bunch of BS, so to speak, no pun intended. And so how can we get people to know what they're buying and to know where their food's coming from? And the great thing for us is we've got a lot of customers who are asking, how are your animals finished? How are they packaged? You know, why are you doing it different than other people? And I think that's great. And I'd be curious if some of the other panelists are having similar issues, like the customers are knowing, you know, that they're really educating themselves and they're making better decisions from a health standpoint, sustainability than maybe they used to.
That's a great point there. I think today's consumers are more aware and they want to know more about the products and that they're buying, especially the food items, I think. And I think technology will become the key in the near future, where they can just point their camera, smartphone camera, at the pack of a food and they get to know everything about the food that they're having. And typically that will accelerate the pace of kind of adoption to new products. And I believe that that's going to happen. I think there's already some work going on in the augmented reality and virtual reality thing there. And it's just a matter of time that that kind of thing become a mainstream. But I think your consumers are asking for that information is a great point there. How about, I would like to move to Bill also, and Bill has also entered into a very niche business. Bill, like, how do you plan on educating your consumers, like the kind of product that you have? Yes, there are a set of consumers who are already aware about it, but there are a set of consumers that are your potential consumers that you still haven't acquired. So how do you plan? What are your thoughts on it, about educating consumers?
Yeah, actually education is a key. And of course we do a lot of social media. We also do a fair bit of in-person events and things like that. But right now we're working on a educational program for, you know, elementary school kids, junior high, high school, forgot what you call three of them together. But the thing is, with people my age, anybody over 40, it's about a 50%, maybe a 40% chance that they're going to try an insect. If somebody from, you know, 20 to 40, I'd say there's a 50 or 60% chance. But when you get the kids, when you're in a school situation and you're showing, you know, kids these different insects, we probably get 60, 70% of them in the beginning. And then by the end of class, we've got 80 to 90% of them. Very few kids don't end up trying them. That's one thing. Now, the other problem we have is just trying a cricket doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, they're dry. You know, we have everything from, you know, jalapeno garlic crickets to cotton candy crickets. So there's all these different tastes, but it's kind of like saying, here's a pea. What do you think? Are you going to make this into a new food? And, you know, it doesn't give the kind of impression we'd like it to. So we're working a lot with chefs. We just prior to COVID, we were accepted by Cisco. And so we're getting into a lot of top restaurants, but then COVID hit and that kind of, I mean, basically our March and April was just terrible. You know, because we're a food, it was very, very hard. But around June, it started picking up a lot. July was really good, and this has been a great month. We're actually about where we hope to be in July, I mean in August of this year. And I forgot where I was going with that, but a lot of that has to do with again, getting people to try it in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Black ants taste great. Black ants have a lemon lime taste. They're the highest form of zinc of any plant or animal, magnesium, you know, and a little protein and stuff, but we have a lot of chefs right now that are using black ants, especially with seafood. And so when people try it, they're much more likely to say, oh, wow, that's really good, than if they try a dry cricket and, get a cricket leg stuck in their teeth. That doesn't really. So chefs are really the answer, and we're working as hard as we can to get more and more chefs. We're doing a lot with Mexican restaurants. In Mexico, there's about 200 different insects that are considered food, and chapulines are roasted grasshoppers, and they're very popular. In fact, the joke is us Anglos would be down in Mexico, eating what we think are spicy crickets, and as soon as someone says, hey, do you know they're grasshoppers?
Yeah.
Kind of go nuts. But we bring in a bunch of different foods in the Mexican restaurants, especially the high-end Mexican restaurants. Are starting to use chapulines, sal de gusano. We sell our best one so far. We did 20,000 scorpions. So
Wow.
it's getting out there, but that's, the education is a key part. And we also want to try and have packages for schools. We've been working towards that. And right now looking for a big corporate partner, but you know how that, that can take a year.
Right. Absolutely. I think there's a learning curve for any product adoption that to happen, especially in food business. It's basically developing the taste. I think not many people are familiar with it, and that's why they haven't developed taste for it. But once it becomes easily available, accessible, more people may be hooked to it, and I think people will love it once they try it once.
Yeah, there's two foods that are very similar, and being in Maine, lobster is one of them. At the turn of the century in 1900, lobster was considered food for prisoners, literally, food for prisoners. And it wasn't until Eleanor Roosevelt actually had a big dinner and she served lobster that it became popular. So it took about 60 years for lobster to go from, trash food to something that's, now it's one of the most expensive foods. Same with sushi. Sushi was a little shorter. It took about 10 years. There was a chef in California that came up with a California roll. And, prior to the internet, it took about 10 years to get going. So we're hoping that with the internet, we can make it a 2 or 3 year turn.
That's amazing. If that happens, I think if you are able to reduce that time frame, that would be pretty amazing for your business. Great. I would like to move on to Rick. And Rick, you're taking the journey forward for Jessie and Laurent. And you mentioned earlier that you want to scale up. I mean, what is your vision? Like how do you want? Are you planning in terms of technology? How do you want? What are your plans to scale up? I mean, have you already laid out some roadmap for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think first for us, we had to identify who the customer really was. All right. So we have an e-commerce site where everybody places their orders. However, we still have a few people that call and email in. And what we are finding with what we found from the onset was that there was a perceived notion that most of our clients were in the elderly age group, if you will, not cooking for themselves. And we do have quite a few of those clients, but it was skewed because those were the ones that were struggling with the technology the most and calling us versus, other people who are technology savvy were able to order, and we would, really, unless our drivers were interacting with them, which sometimes doesn't happen. We often leave the food in a cooler bag with ice at their door if they're not home.
Yeah.
So we had this perceived notion that our client base was older than it really is. And so we changed our website a little bit. We've added the Google Analytics aspect, and we've really started to dive deeper into that. We just recently hired a PR firm, LG PR, to help us with some public relations and a digital media platform with Impeller. And so they're helping us to kind of spread that net out a little bit, as well as we spent a lot of time really identifying who our true avatar was and looking at everything from how frequent they order to the bag sizes that they order, et cetera, so that we can really kind of laser beam focus our marketing efforts to those consumers that we know fit into that potential block that are going to help support us. We're in the Bay Area, so we're in such a huge demographic and area right now. There is discussion to go to other areas. But right now we feel like there's a lot of low hanging fruit just in the Bay Area as we get to know this. And our business right now is up 110% year over year, and it had stagnant. So a bit of a change to our website and some of our offerings and how we're doing business there. And we're starting to see that really take off. So I have big dreams of where we're going to be at in sales in the next 3 to 5 years. And so far, every time I've mentioned it to our team, nobody has panicked or cried or run away. So I'm excited about that.
Wow, that's so you have already thought of it, and I think more power to you. I think you're already moving in that direction, and you're taking steps, which is commendable. And that's what I think. Data is your oil. I mean, data gives you the right direction. It can tell you what's happening, what's working, what's not working. And before I move to the next question, I have this one question. It's a poll question for all the panelists. Let me launch this poll for all of you. So, most important question. You already have an established business and you want to acquire more and more new customers. Are you getting enough ROI from your digital marketing spend? Like, where exactly are you moving in the right direction, or where do you think your digital marketing effort should go accordingly? Like, I mean, is it because digital marketing is the key, because everyone is online. We are all surrounded by our smartphone, tablet. An average consumer has 3 different gadgets that they're spending time on, and it's a big opportunity, I believe. So let me end this poll and share the results. So cool. So 60% of the people feel that they're getting good ROI, but 40% feel that it's like no. So that's a good answer there. And so why I ask this question is, in this last 4 to 5 months, yes, there has been like a uptick in the customer acquisition without any effort, because online was the only preferred channel. And but that is something that can go away, or maybe you might lose some customers from there, and you always have to spend some time and efforts on your digital marketing. So I would like to ask this question to Brian. Brian, what kind of strategies, or what is your digital marketing strategy to kind of retain the customers that you already have and acquire more?
I think for us, the blessing in disguise was we launched our app, the Everbowl app, right before COVID. So early this year, January, February, we're working on it. And we weren't getting a lot of people to download it, just because it's easy to pay with either, Apple Pay or your credit card, or the kids are paying with cash. Well, when we opened back up on May 1st, we went cashless, to kind of be as touchless as possible. And we all know cash is pretty dirty. So we wanted to kind of keep it as clean as possible. And we had a lot of our customers download the app, which when you have that app on your phone and you want some food and it's so easy. And now we have more than half of our customers paying with the app, ordering from the app. That's really cool. That's been very beneficial for us. And as I mentioned on our last discussion, we also have a product called Later Bowls. So you can go onto the everbowl.com website. The second tab over is Later Bowls, and those will get shipped next day to you.
Okay.
So
that's
another way to get our product to our customers who aren't necessarily in San Diego.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. It's basically having the orders in advance, and absolutely frictionless commerce. That's the future, I believe. And the more and more it becomes intuitive, it's like you enter the store already knows what you want to buy, and like no need to tell anyone, just place the order, make the payment happen seamlessly. I think that frictionless commerce, I think that's the future, and it's happening already. I think app must be giving you a lot of insights about the kind of consumers. I think a lot of people tend to not go for ordering if they find there is a friction. Most of the time, that's kind of happening there. But I think you remove that friction.
I noticed, another thing that I get feedback from our store managers is, phone orders are just, that's a bottleneck right there.
True.
When you're busy, it's lunchtime, you have 10 people in line, and somebody calls. And it's just like, and that ticket goes between the people that are actually there at your
Correct.
restaurant. And
Yeah.
so now what we've done is with the app, people can use that. They don't have to call.
Yeah.
And it's just so much smoother
Yeah.
operation.
Absolutely. And I think the mobile app becomes a great enabler in terms of new customer acquisition, because the existing customers can very, very easily refer your app to 10 other people for an excellent loyalty program. They're going to get some incentive for it ultimately, but that can take the growth to 10x. And so you already have that tool there, which is amazing.
Yeah, so you have over 20, 30,000 people on the app,
Wow.
and then you can just push out little coupons like, hey, did you remember to come in and get your acai, or $2 off, or happy birthday? There's so many different things you can do with that. It's great.
Great. I think an additional thing that just came to my mind is like adding a layer of subscription there, maybe for those frequent flyers or frequent customers, I can say. And that can really help in accelerating the pace further. So great. I mean, I'm happy to see that you already have an app, and I must check it out. Great. I would like to move to Chris. Chris, you have great plans laid out, and you're solving an interesting problem from a single producer to becoming like, to make sure that your customers always get what they want. And how do you plan on using technology for it? Like a platform, you already have an online presence. What are your what are the strategies or thoughts that you have for the next 1 or 2 years to accelerate?
It's been a shift. So we used digital marketing to acquire our initial customers, let's say the first 1,000 customers or so. It was very expensive. The customer acquisition cost was almost the shopping cart value, and that's not a sustainable model. But we had to get the word out somewhat, in some form or fashion. We used pay-per-click, we used paid search, we used Facebook, and it really went back to who is our number one audience or persona that we're trying to target, and using Google Analytics and Facebook Insights and all the other analytical tools, we started to identify what those niche audiences really were. And so then it became a shift that the initial customers, we have a significant referral rate. So we get a lot of recommendations, which is great, and the lifeblood of our company. So that was kind of the near-term strategy. We had to make the cash register ring today. So it's like, oh crap, we better run some ads, or we're not going to get some sales. We have begun to shift that model into a long-term or long-tail strategy. And what does that mean? Search engine optimization. So I got my start in digital marketing with so-called SEO, which is just a fancy way of saying, how do you get into the top 3 or number 1 rankings on the free search results? And anymore, the only way to do that is through quality content. So we've been very intentional in terms of how we're blogging, highlighting the issues within our industry, highlighting not only how we're different, but how other like-minded producers are different, and then pulling that through to all the pages in the website, whether it's a product page, certainly a blog, or some of the value-added content like a beef steak guide or something like that. And we've actually turned off all paid advertising. I think we shut it off around April or May because we couldn't keep up with the demand. And when Brian was talking about the phone was ringing, we had emails, ding, 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 50 orders a day when we were used to 5 or 10, or maybe even less than that. And so we had to control our growth, and even shutting off those paid advertising platforms, we were still getting the sales. So now it's about using tools, and I like to use Market Muse. All of these tools have free subscription, so you don't have to pay, but Market Muse gives you some contextual ideas on what keywords would be relevant. So I can talk about grass-fed beef or beef, but by not including words like producer or CLA, which is an amino acid, or these esoteric terms that we never think to include, that is one of the differentiators for us. In other words, if we're talking about these niche terms and our competition isn't, then Google will give you additional points. So and now it's really we've been transparent in how we of our process, but really being very detailed. This is how it works. This is how it changed. So content is everything for us, and people seem to be very interested in that. And so that's been our focus, and will be probably for the rest of the year and next year.
Amazing. That's so you really are kind of, you already have formulated and executing that strategy really well of digital medium. I mean, you already have everything thought of. I think SEO you have planned, you have done PPC, Facebook, everything. And kudos, I think you have done a great job there. And I must say, because digital marketing, it's knowing the customer is extremely important, because then only you can figure out ways and means to reach out to them. Not everyone is your customer, but finding that buyer persona is extremely critical. What they are looking for, what kind of research that they are doing before buying things, kind of drives uh, the new customers to your brand or to your food and beverage business. Excellent. uh, I would like to take this conversation to Bill. Bill, so your product is extremely niche, and there's a learning curve to it. So, like, what are the channels? How do you spend your marketing budget on? Do you do digital marketing? Has it worked so far for you? What are you thinking down the line? That's in the next 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, we basically have two types of marketing in a sense, and two types of customers. With our online customers, as Chris said, we do a lot of content. If you search, insect nutrition or, why eat bugs, things like that, you'll be taken to a lot of our content pages. So we have about 20 or 30 of them that we've set up, and we're number one on almost all of them, which is great. We also, again, do a lot of social media, but our wholesale business is basically old-fashioned offline. We send samples to buyers and then call the buyer up afterwards, and it's a long process. One of the major companies, we just got an order of 20,000 kickers, mini kickers, from a company that we had sent samples to in April of one year. They placed a sample, I think it was in August of last year, and we got our first real in January of this year. But now we're up to around 70 or 80,000 tubes from that one customer. But it took almost a year to get that customer, and it was sending samples, going back and forth, that sort of thing. So yeah, online has a lot to do with content. For us, because of our own online sales, some of them are as low as $5 or $6. So it's very hard to use pay per click. We do a lot of general advertising on Facebook and places like that. And we reach out to, like, for example, the paleo crowd, different diet crowds, things like that. And that brings in customers pretty well. But if we're paying per click, you can't pay $20 for a $20 order. Just doesn't work.
Right.
So yeah.
So you need to have a sustainable digital marketing efforts that can kind of compensate for the spending cost. I mean, there has to be a margin to kind of incur that cost on the digital marketing. Right. Great.
Right.
I would like to ask this next poll question for all of you, which is, do you know your customer's lifetime value? Like, you have all these amazing customers that you have acquired since you started your business, even during the challenging times. So the objective is how you can retain them and they become your repeat buyers, because that's what is going to define the profitability of your business. So have you given any thought on the customer's lifetime value, or like what are your thoughts on it? I would like to share the poll results. So probably we have a 50% audience saying some of them know, some of them don't know. So I would like to ask this question to Brian, probably, who has scaled up their stores to 24. So, like, what do you think, Brian, about the customer's lifetime value? In your case, what do you think it can be?
That's a great question, and I'm one of the ones that said no. I actually don't. So, being as new as we are, I think it's about really putting an emphasis back on our customers. After growing so quickly and building up your teams and developing them, it's okay. How can I go back and really focus on the customers? What are the customers telling me? Looking at all our Yelp reviews. So with 25, 26 open stores, going through Yelp and see what they're saying, both good and bad. And actually, we really learn a lot of valuable information off of the poor reviews. I'm sure, like all of you do.
Right.
So what is the lifetime value? I don't know yet, but I think it's really important to make that a focus. It's
Yeah.
just in sell what sells. I think that's one of the key things too, is don't try and keep putting out these obscure and odd products. Look, it's the 80-20 rule, right? So look at what's selling, look at the data, and focus on that, and go all in on that. Be great at what you do.
Correct. Like the product that we have built, actually, that's Enalito. We actually kind of drill down into the details. I mean, we actually try to figure out the consumer's behavior in terms of their recency, frequency, and monetary. We try to figure out what is the interval between their two consecutive purchases, what is their churn rate, year on year, month on month, and we can actually predict the customer's lifetime value, not just for an individual customer, but at a segment level and at an entire store level. So you can actually know, okay, your business has made so much in the last 1 year, how much more it is more likely going to make in the next 1 year. So it's like, it can give you an idea, and kind of then you can formulate your strategies around that assumption that, okay, how much efforts you need to put in for your digital marketing, where should your marketing budget should go to, which channel it should go to, from which channel you are acquiring more and more customers, from whether you're getting customers through Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. Because I think understanding this kind of drives the adoption, because unless and until you know your customers' behavior well, you cannot educate, you cannot make them aware. And I think consumers have a learning cycle, and there is a lot of noise that consumers have to kind of go through, and to make that name stick. So for example, that logo, that brand recall to happen, I think there is a huge effort that the brand has to put in. So that's where we kind of focus a lot of our attention to, in solving this key critical challenge for any business. And having said that, I would like to kind of ask this next question to all of you panelists is, when you guys have started this business, like, or you already have reached an inflection point, and from this point on, I think there's a lot of unpredictability ahead. Yes, there will be certain time, there will be uncertainties ahead. But what are the new things that you're thinking, let's say in the next 6 months or in the next 1 year? What are the new things that you are trying to incorporate into your business in order to kind of, that you have never done before? Like, just wanted to take your thoughts on that. Maybe I can ask Greg to begin with.
Yeah, sure. So we're looking at new items all the time. We have a rotating menu each week. I love what you're talking about with regards to the data side of it. I use that with my restaurant consultants all the time. It's, they hang on to that item that is they think is the crowd favorite, and it's really not. So using data to make those decisions. And that's what we do here at Jessie and Laurent, is we look at every menu engineering that we do, is we make sure that we have a top seller, that we know that information in there from previous menus. And we're always looking to kind of reformulate that menu so that it continues to be exciting for the consumer. It's not the same thing every week. We put a lot of time and effort and thought into that. We've taken our business from an average bag size of about $120 up to $155, just by some simple tweaks, right? By taking, for example, we do a protein with a sauce, for example, and we say, hey, well, why don't we just cook off and roast off some of that same protein and offer it as an a la carte item? And we were blown away by how easy that was from an operation standpoint, but how much it also increased our consumers buying from that standpoint. Then we've added a few grocery items. I think we'll still dabble in that. Maybe we start offering crickets here in the future, but we added pressed juicery and addictive coffee as a way to say, hey, we're already coming to your door with some food. Let us pick up a grocery item for you. So we partnered with Press Juicery, and we're selling 150, 170 bottles of their juice a week. And, almost to the point now where I'm thinking, well, maybe we should be juicing our own. But at this point, those are some of the things. We're definitely looking heavily into breakfast. That's an item that our consumers are asking for. We've spent a lot of time data mining from our CRM to figure out exactly what you just asked. Like, who's our top tier client? We look at tier 1 and 2, and then we also always have the looky-loos that maybe there's a life experience that happens, a pregnancy or a death in the family, where they need our service, but only for a few weeks or a month or so. And so we just try to stay focused on those top tier and clients that are ordering on average 3 to 4 times a month. And those are the ones that we're really excited about and targeting. So we'll continue to do that, find out what they want and see if we can implement it.
All right. So you're looking into the data and trying to figure out insights about your consumers' behavior. So that's a good move. That's great.
I mean, obviously the gut is important. We use the gut in our experience in business, but it's really, it's to me, it's kind of like a reference check when you're interviewing. It's another touch point. And so if you're not using data, I feel like you're going to make more mistakes. It's more like a shotgun approach where data will help you be laser beam focused. And so the more we use it, the better we are.
Correct. I think it's the data-driven decision-making that's going to make the efforts precise and focused. And I believe that's the future. I think in food and beverage business, it's all the data that you guys are capturing from all of your digital channel. That's going to really give you some really cool, actionable intelligence. And it's just a matter of using the right technologies and tools to kind of figure out what's going to help you in the near future. So that's excellent. I would like to go to Chris also and take his thoughts on this, the customer lifetime value, because I think you have already acquired a lot of customers, and I think your customer acquisition cost to you, it was high earlier when you launched, but now I think over a period of time, it might have gone down, and with the efforts that you're putting in digital marketing, it might go down significantly to a great level. So what are your thoughts on customer lifetime value? How do you plan on kind of getting there?
I have the same answer as Brian. We're still early stage in our business, so we have a gut idea. We've got some benchmarks, KPIs, goals, but we don't really know yet. Have an idea, but we have a subscription model, and so there is some lifetime value. We have a general idea of churn rate. Again, it's still early, so our churn rate's been relatively low, and I don't expect that to continue, so there will be some churn. And then the number of repeat customers has also been a surprise. So they would start with one, ground beef package or something that's easy, and then they would upsell themselves into steaks and some more higher ticket shopping carts. So, we're trying to figure that out. And on the flip side of that, what's going to happen in 6 months? We are still getting caught up. We still have a queue of customers that we're trying to fulfill orders. So for us, 6 months might as well be 5 years from now. But one idea that's important for us is helping our customers properly prepare and cook the food. So grass-fed beef, natural, free-range type products cook differently than the beef or cook differently than proteins that you would buy at the grocery store. And so we want to make sure that our customers are having the best experience possible. We started to get that going right before COVID in early March, and then they shut down our facilities. Not our facilities, but where we would shoot it and things like that. So hopefully by early next year, we'll have a better idea of that, which would help inform our marketing programs to, okay, here are the folks that we get the longest customer, we get recurring revenue from these types of customers.
Right. That's a great insight there. I think you're already there. It's just going in a little bit. So you have a very good opportunity, I believe, because of whatever data points you have generated so far. You just need a matter of extrapolation and figuring out what is working and where are those kind of areas of improvement. And I think it can be very, very easily identified with actionable intelligence. Great. And there is one more question that so we are at the last 5 or 6 minutes of our session. So I would like to take the opportunity and ask all of you that one piece of advice that for an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur who is already running a food and beverage business right now, what should they do? What is that one key piece of advice that has worked for you that they can also that can help anybody in their business? So that one piece of advice, if you can share, all of you, that would be really great. I would like to start with maybe Bill to begin with.
I think one of the key things, and over the years, I've seen a lot of people with a lot of businesses, And I think it's don't give up. I mean, so many companies, they go a year and it hasn't happened the way they think, and so they give up. But it's odd how companies, in a sense, grow by leaps and bounds, in a sense. You know, you can have general growth and all of a sudden you get a good order. Yeah, I mean, I've seen so many companies with a lot of potential just kind of burn out because they tried so hard, so long for 1 year, and then that's it. But if they had stuck with it, I think, you know how it is, the growth curve, you just got to get to the point where you're in the black.
Correct. Great advice there. Thank you. I would like to go to Rick. One piece of advice, Rick, for fellow entrepreneurs and someone who wants to be an entrepreneur in the food and beverage business.
Yeah, I think this one for me is seek to understand rather than be understood. And there's a great book called The Question Behind the Question that was really impactful for me. And it's such a great reminder that we have 2 ears and one mouth, use them proportionally, right? So understand what your customer is looking for, understand what your staff is looking for, understand what you love to do yourself, and, you know, make sure that you maintain that in your business. But yeah, I think oftentimes that people feel like, oh, I own the business, I'm the entrepreneur, I'm the CEO, I have to have all the answers. And the truth of that is you don't. There's an interesting new graph that shows like the trajectory of technology is surpassing human abilities, right? Yeah. And so the new model for leadership, I believe, is the CEO is the person who asks better questions. And I think that's true of ourselves and, like I said, our staff and also of our customer.
Excellent advice. I think while you were saying that, a thought came to my mind. This is what exactly Satya Nadella said recently when he wrote this book, Refresh. When he wanted to kind of make a paradigm shift in Microsoft and take it to the next level, he says we need to become a company which says, rather than know it all, learn it all. And it kind of gave me goosebumps when I listened to that thought all the time, because we often feel that we know everything, but there is always something there that there is a scope that we want to know. And you really touched that point, extremely insightful, and that can accelerate, that can make any business scale to the next level. Wow. I would like to go to Brian for this one piece of advice.
You know, you're not going to believe this, but I was going to say surround yourself with learn-it-alls instead of know-it-alls. I mean, I was going to say the exact same thing. That so we're all. It sounds like we're all on the same frequency and the same wavelength. You didn't really, Jeff and I or Eric Hansen, our COO, didn't come from food and beverage background. I mean, I was in retail grocery. Eric helped start GoFundMe. It's a lot of different ideas from different sectors, and utilizing tech, surrounding yourself with great people who listen more, and you as an executive in your company, listen to your people and listen to your customers.
Excellent. Learn. Great. I would like to go to Chris.
I would echo what the other panelists are saying, and that would be community. Participate in the community. You know, the difference between, I started my first company in 1995 at 20 years old. There was no startup accelerators, incubators, social media clubs, things of that nature. And for me, talking to other people who have nothing to do with your industry and learning from each other and being candid, here's the challenge for us to acquire new customers. Here's where we had retention issues and so on. So there's online resources, there's in-person resources whenever we get back to that. But there's just so many great people doing great things, and, participating in the community and as a extension of that, there are a lot of mentors, and there's a lot of mentors who don't want any payment. They don't want anything from you. They want to give back to their community. So find those folks, and it's kind of like, reach out to somebody who you may think would never return your call, and they will, but you have to make that ask. And so just put yourself out there, jump in the pool.
Excellent. Wow. Great piece of advice. I must say, this has been an excellent panel discussion today. I'm really, really happy to have all of you here, and you guys have expressed everything so nicely. And you kind of touched upon those insights that most of the time gets lost in the conversation. I would like to really thank you for the piece of advice that you have given. What Bill has said, that you are running a marathon, it's not a sprint. So just hang in there. It's gonna turn in your favor as well at some point of time. Rick has really mentioned something that resonated with me. I mean, learn it all. And similarly, what Brian has mentioned, learn it all and just listen to your consumers and employees because they are your ambassadors. And Chris, taking risks and just moving in the right direction and to acquire and to kind of scale to new heights, no matter where you have started. If you know what you're doing right now, there are steps, I think. If you want to reach goal, there are always steps that we have to keep moving in the right direction, and then we can achieve any scale. So this is an excellent panel discussion that we had today, gentlemen. And I would really, again, like to take this opportunity to thank you, all of you, on behalf of our organization, Enalito, for participating in it. And we would like to learn more from you about your business and take this message forward for more and more fellow entrepreneurs out there in the food and beverage business. So thank you so much once again for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.